Today we're going to be covering the C Major Triad in what's called root position, and we're going to learn how to play that triad all over the guitar. So before we get started, there are some things you will need to know and be able to play on the guitar to help as a frame of reference. So first of all, you need to know some of your open position chords: G major, D major, A minor, C major, E minor, those types of basic major and minor chords in what's called the open position. You also need to know your major and minor bar chords. They will provide a frame of reference for some of these other chords. In addition, you want to know what's called the chromatic scale, or sometimes what's called the musical alphabet. This is a list of all the notes we use in music. Think of A sharp, B, C, C sharp, etc., etc. That's the musical alphabet, or the chromatic scale. You want to have that memorized or have it written down on a piece of paper. And we're going to be referring to that scale or that alphabet and counting up on each of the strings to figure these chords out. Okay, so let's get started. This C major triad, it has 3 notes in it. We need to know those 3 notes. They are C, E, and G. C is the root of the chord, E is the 3rd, and G is the 5th. Okay, so let's figure out how we can play this chord on the guitar. A good place to start is on the 6th string. So let's find our C note on the 6th string. So the 6th string, if we play that 6th string as an open string, what's the name of that open string? Well, that's an E. If we think of our E note and we think, can I get to the C note on that same string? Yes, you can. You just have to count up. You have to think of that musical alphabet, that chromatic scale, and count up. So E, F is the 1st fret, F sharp the 2nd, G, G sharp, A, continuing, A sharp, B, and finally C, our goal note. So this is the note we wanted to get to. And I would do it with your pinky. That will make the fingering work out a little bit better when we get to the other notes. Okay, the next string, we want to play the E note on the 5th string. What's the letter name of our 5th string? It's an A. There's our A, right? So we're going to count up to E from A. So start on A and count to E. We have A sharp, B, C on the 3rd fret, C sharp, D on the 5th fret, D sharp, and finally we get to our E on the 7th fret. And let's try it with the ring finger. So if we combine our first note, C, with E, we get these 2 notes. And we need to add one more note to this chord to complete it. We need the 5th, which is called G. So let's find the G note on the 4th string. What's the name of our open 4th string? Well, it's a D, right? So we want to count up from D to G. So D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, and finally G. So now we combine that with our other 2 notes. We get C, E, and G respectively, or 8th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret on each of these consecutive strings. We have our C major triad now in what's called root position. And as a side note, root position just means the root of the chord is the lowest note. That's the C. The C is our lowest note here. Okay, there's our C major triad. Now let's figure out a couple other ways of playing this chord on different strings. Okay, so we got the chord on the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings. Let's do it on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings. Okay, so let's find our C on the 5th string. What's the name of our open 5th string? A. So we want to count up to C. A sharp, B, and finally C, 3rd fret. And let's do it with the ring finger. That will help out with the fingering for the rest of the chord. On the next string, we want to find our E. We're going to start on D and go to E. D, D sharp, and finally E. So we have C and E. Our last note in this chord is going to be G. We think of our open 3rd string. What's the name of our open 3rd string? It's G, in fact. So we don't need to play a fretted note. We could just play it as open, which makes it a lot easier, right? So C, E, and G. We combine those 3 together and we get our C major triad. So we have one way of playing this C major triad over in this 5th position. We have another way of playing this C major triad over here in the open position. There are 2 other ways to do it. Let's figure those out. I'll get you started, and then I want you to go and figure it out on your own at home. So on the 4th string, we're going to find a C note there, and instead of counting up, we're actually going to count in reverse because it will be a little bit quicker and easier. So how are we going to count in reverse? Well, you need to know what an octave is. Very briefly, an octave is a musical distance, a musical interval of 12 half steps, or in other words, 12 frets. So if you count up 12 frets from D, open all the way up to the 12th fret, that's an octave. And what an octave means is it's two notes that sound different, but they have the same letter name. One will sound lower, one will sound higher. So this is our D, this is also our D. So if we know this is D, we need to get to C. So we're actually going to go this way, work to the left to get to our C. D, D flat, and C. All right. So let's do it with our ring finger, and that will work out a little bit better. The C note is there. Now on the next string, we need to figure out where is our E note. So similarly, we can count backwards. If we know that this is G, the 12th fret, open is G, 12th fret is G. We need to count down to E, so count to the left to get to our E. So it'll be somewhere in this area. So we have C and then some kind of E in this area. Then on the next string, on the second string, we have B, 12th fret is B, count down to G. See if you can count backwards. So we'll have two more notes there that will fill out that chord shape. It's up to you to figure those out. I think you might recognize this chord shape. You may have played it before. But once you figure it out, it's a cool chord shape. All right, our last one that we're going to do is going to be starting on the third string. Our last shape. Okay, so third string is G. We need to get to a C. G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and finally C. And let's do it with the ring finger. All right, there we go, ring finger. Then on our next string, we need to figure out where's an E. Where's an E on the second string? And lastly, where's a G on the first string? And we want to combine all of them to create that C major triad. So when we're done, we should have one way, two ways, three ways, and four ways to play this C major triad. And it's up to you to figure out the last two ways, which I think you'll be able to do with this process we have here. So it's good to realize that we've learned the chord shapes here, but we've also learned how to find these notes. We learned how to locate these letter names, because the guitar sometimes can be a little bit of a mystery where these notes are located. What you've learned is how to map these out. It takes time and patience, but you can do it. And you also are learning these shapes. So happy practicing, and the next lesson will continue with some of these ideas.